Hey there, it's Carly with another episode of the Expat Focus podcast. Costa Rica is well known as a haven for expat retirees. But what's it like to move to this tropical paradise in Central America if you're not at that stage of life yet? American Samantha moved to Costa Rica more than 6 years ago for love. And she's come a long way since first arriving with little knowledge of the country, needing to learn Spanish, find a job, make friends, understand how the local community and systems all tick. She's come so far, in fact, that she and her husband Yeison were even named tourism ambassadors for their work on their very successful Costa Rica travel blog, mytanfeet.com. Samantha's going to share her story of settling into life in Costa Rica and how she navigated the integration bumps along the way. So, Samantha, your website and blog, mytanfeet.com, it aims to be the go-to resource on Costa Rica. And you and your partner were even named tourism ambassadors by the government a couple of years ago, which would have been such a big honour.
Yes, it was. We were very grateful for the title.
So you're originally from the USA. How did you end up living in Costa Rica and becoming such a knowledge bank for travelers and expats?
Well, I came to Costa Rica a little over 6 years ago, and the main reason why I moved down here was actually to be with my husband, Jason. He is Costa Rican, and back when we met 8 years ago, he didn't have a U.S. visa or was able to work in the U.S. So we actually did long distance for a couple years, and then I decided that to move down here.
And how much did you know about the country before you moved?
Absolutely nothing. We actually met in Nicaragua when I was doing a volunteer trip. I only was in Costa Rica for 3 days before I went back to the U.S. the first time we met. And then I would just come and visit him every 3 to 6 months. But I didn't know too much before I moved. I mean, I visited him a few times, but when it came to just like even basic things, I didn't really know that much about the country.
It seems like such a tropical rainforest paradise. I can imagine it would have been such a lovely place to just need to keep coming back to for a couple of years to see your boyfriend.
Oh yeah, it's a nice bonus that it's in a beautiful country. But honestly, like when I came to visit him, we stayed only in the city, which is where he was living at the time. We never really went out and did all the touristy stuff back then. I came down it was to see him. So
I was going to ask you how it really changed when you were just visiting Costa Rica and almost having a touristic experience compared to when you moved.
It's good and bad. I got to experience like from the very first time I came here, everything that I experienced back then was everything through him. So everything was through his local eyes. We didn't even though he was working in tourism back at that time, he wanted me to have a more grounded local experience because we knew eventually, like if I moved down here, I needed to have a little bit more of a concrete base and understanding of what living here would be like. But I mean, ever since I moved here, we've been traveling a lot and it's been a lot of fun.
It's a bit like anywhere. If you're living by the beach, you're not necessarily there every day, just sunning yourself on the sand.
No, I wish. I mean, I'm sure anyone who lives near any beach in the world, like LA or Miami, like anywhere in the world, even though the beach is right there, like you're not sitting sipping pina coladas on the beach every single day, but it's nice it's there, and it's a nice place for us to go and relax after work. And
for you, the attraction to Costa Rica and what led you to Costa Rica was love. What else typically attracts expats to the country? You mentioned on your blog a stereotype of old and retired.
Yeah, especially in certain parts of Costa Rica, there's like pockets of a lot of retirees. Costa Rica has been named, many times by different publications about how it is one of the top retirement countries in the world. It's very high up there because they have good health care, a cheaper cost of living. It's pretty easy to adapt to life here if you're American or Canadian, because the country is very touristic. So, a lot of things are in English, all of the currencies in US dollars for a lot of things. So they don't have to work too hard, the foreigners, to adapt to living here. But yes, it was a little shocking for me because I didn't know that because I was 20, 22, 23 when I moved. So I didn't really, I'm not in that stage of life. So when I moved, we first went to a little beach town in Guanacaste on the Pacific coast, which is one of the top retiree communities in Costa Rica. And I was a bit shocked. I wasn't expecting it. But yes, there's a lot of retirees here, or snowbirds. So they come down during the winter months up north.
I think in Australia we call them the grey nomads,
Oh, that's great. I haven't heard that one before.
taking their caravans up the east coast and following the sun. Yeah.
Following the sun, exactly. Yep.
So, how did that change the experience for you? You didn't come to Costa Rica to retire and have a bit of an easy life. You're definitely not at that stage, a little while off. What did that mean for you in terms of integrating, finding a job, that kind of thing?
Because I mean, I was moving here full time and I need to work. I am not retired. I don't have, all my life savings, and I need to work. I need to pay bills. I need to find a place to live. I'm here full time. I need to do all the normal things that people have to do, go to the bank, get your papers. So for me, which is, when you're living in a foreign country abroad, and, for someone like me who immigrated to another country, at first I need to learn the language. I need to understand how the local system works, how, because, it's obviously different from where you're originally from. And so I need to learn all those little things, and I needed to integrate myself into their society and their community. I didn't want to not necessarily isolate myself, but just kind of like stick myself to only other foreigners, and only kind of get like that experience. Like I want to be, and I have to be fully integrated into the Costa Rican system because first of all, my husband is Costa Rican. I can't be that foreigner, that person who like never learned Spanish or anything like that, or don't know like how their customs and traditions are. So for me, I mean, it was like basically starting a life from scratch. You learn a language, you have to learn how to drive here, you have to learn how to go to the bank by yourself and go grocery shopping by yourself or go to the doctor by yourself. So for me, that was very different, and that was a lot of things to learn in a short period of time that and things that most retirees, snowbirds, people who only come down here for a few months of the year, or like digital nomads, they don't necessarily need to learn how to do that because they're only here for a temporary period of time, whereas I'm more permanent.
And how did you find that process of integration?
It was interesting. I would say it's probably definitely one of the hardest things I've had to do, but I was very lucky because, I have Yeison and I had a good support system. It was harder for me because I'm more introverted. So when it came to, learning Spanish, I didn't have much trouble learning the language per se, luckily because I speak other languages already, so it wasn't like incredibly difficult, but just kind of like making myself get out there and like talk to people and just like not be scared of talking to people and making mistakes, and like them knowing that I'm a foreigner and I don't speak Spanish as the first language is a little intimidating, but it was a really good experience. I learned a lot and I grew a lot. People are very nice about it, and it really makes you feel proud when you can like do all your errands on your own. But you always have those days
Yes,
where you make a
definitely.
mistake, or
And you're,
yeah.
you're understood the first time in the bakery.
Exactly, yeah. Or like, you understand everything someone's saying to you, or like, you're able to accomplish something on your own. It's a big deal, a big thing to be proud of.
So all these years later, do you feel integrated into Costa Rica now, or do you still feel that element of being a foreigner? Do you think that ever truly disappears?
I mean, I will always be a foreigner. And it doesn't matter, like it's obvious the moment I open my mouth, but like people here, they don't really care. too much, or like because they're so used to having people from all over the world here. But it is nice when I talk to locals and they are surprised that, I do speak Spanish and I've been here for a while. My husband is Tico and things like that. They find it very nice because they appreciate the effort that I'm making to, integrate myself into their society and everything like that. But, like I think like someone maybe because I've only been here for 6 years, my parents, they immigrated to the US and they've been there for 30 years. And, when I ask them and how they feel, they still say like, oh yeah, like I have an American passport, but, I'm still Taiwanese as well. But they feel integrated and I feel integrated as well. But, like I will never let go of like my roots and where I'm from or anything like that. But I have the best of many worlds.
Have you found much of a young expat community in Costa Rica where you are?
It's definitely growing when it comes to like just expats, not like people who immigrated like I did. Like there's a lot of younger, I do see a lot of younger people around like my age or even like 30s or 40s, like young families. They do come down here for whether it's like a few months or like a year or something. I have definitely seen it grow a lot more than when I first came down here. When I first came down here, I was very lonely because it was hard for me to make friends with people who are my age because everyone was much older. But now I do definitely see a lot more younger people coming here.
What do you think is the biggest culture shock coming from America to Costa Rica?
Definitely, if you don't speak Spanish, definitely the language. It's very commonly known that North Americans, they don't speak anything but English. And so for them to be somewhere where they don't understand what's going on or they don't know, they can't read the signs or anything like that, they get very flustered. And that is a big culture shock, even though, like Spanish and English, they're like some similarities, but it's a completely different language. And then I guess like a lot of people who move here, they don't understand or, they've never had the experience about like how certain systems work. A lot of people still come with that mentality of like, I expect things to be done the same way as where I came from, whether it's Canada or England or Australia or wherever. And so, you just have to learn and adapt to how their system works and learn yourself how to work around it, because it doesn't matter whether you move to Costa Rica or Ecuador or Japan or whatever. I mean, you need to learn how the system works, or you will never, you won't get past that hump and you won't feel like you're actually able to be successfully here.
Did you have any humps, Samantha, in the first couple of years?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the first 6 months were very difficult because I only knew like 2 words in Spanish when I moved here. I didn't really study it. I never studied it before in school or anything like that. I studied other languages. So it was very hard for me because I hate the feeling of not being able to express myself or understand what's going on. And I don't like people to always have to translate for me because I feel like a burden. So it was so frustrating when I was first learning Spanish and kind of like how to get around the town that I was living in. That, like I couldn't. Before, I was so independent. I could drive wherever I wanted. I could walk wherever I wanted. I could get everything done. But when I moved, I just depended on Yeison for so many things. And it was very frustrating for me and very stressful for me because I don't like that feeling. And just trying to get a job was very, very difficult here. Costa Rica does not give work visas very easily, and you do need to be fluent in Spanish if you want any sort of professional position or, work in any sort of company. So that was very frustrating as well.
And how did it go with visas then? What visa did you come to Costa Rica on, and what are you technically on now?
So I came to Costa Rica on a tourist visa. I'm still on a tourist visa, but Jason and I are planning to sign papers so that I can get citizenship because we've been together for a long time and we were married but not in Costa Rica yet. But we're gonna present my papers so that I can get my Costa Rican papers.
What is it that makes Costa Rica so difficult visa-wise?
Anyone who from Cuba or Spain who speaks Spanish, they can get a job here. Like we've met people who are doctors from different countries, but you do need to speak Spanish. And secondly, they give work visas to people who can't fulfill a job that Costa Ricans can't do. So they want to keep their job force local. They don't want a lot of outsiders to take their jobs because it's such a small country. We barely have 5 million people in the country, and they need to keep their people employed because it's just such a small country and job opportunities are very few. So they want to make sure that, their people can get work first, which I think is great. I don't see anything wrong with that. But, if you can speak Spanish for the necessary for any position and you take the correct tests, like if you're a doctor, then you need to come and you need to take their tests, then you can definitely work here.
So if you feel that necessary skill, you can get a kind of work visa. Otherwise, you're on tourist visas. And how long do they last? What is the application process like?
So Costa Rica separates their entry requirements between 4 groups. And the first group is for passports like US, Canada, Australia, England. And a tourist visa for that group lasts 90 days. And there's no process. You just show up at the airport with your passport, you go through immigration, they give you a stamp, and that's it. And it's for 90 days. If you're in a different group, like China or Nicaragua or like Turkey, for example, then you need to present some papers and get a consular visa. And it's a little bit more complicated. But for many countries in the world, they don't need to do anything. They just show up at the airport.
So does that mean you've been renewing your visa every 90 days for the past few years?
Yes,
Oh my
I
gosh.
have. Yes, so every 90, I'm always making sure I check my passport and the date and making sure that I have to leave the country every 90 days. Luckily, we travel internationally a lot and I go back to see my family. But yeah, I do have to leave the country every night. And it's been 6 years
That blows
that I've
my
been doing
tiny
it.
mind. I guess as an Australian,
Yeah.
our annual
Yeah.
migration to Europe for a 4 or 6 week holiday is such a big deal. So
Yeah.
I just can't imagine needing to get yourself organized, set those calendar dates, and make sure you're leaving and re-entering every 3 months. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, I'm used to it now. But luckily, I mean, like Nicaragua is very close, and then if you're in the south, like Panama is closer. A flight to the U.S. is, I mean, Florida's like 3 hours away. So it's easy. I think it's easier than Australia because you
It's
guys
not
are an
like
island.
Australia to England. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes a while for you guys to fly like anywhere except New
Slightly
Zealand.
shorter
But
different distance.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a little easier, but sometimes it I cannot complain about it because I'm very lucky that n- whenever I go to the airport, the immigration agent like flips through my passport and they're always like, "Oh, you really like it here, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but they can't really say anything because technically I'm doing everything legal.
There's
So
no
I can't.
actual limit to how many times you can enter
No.
Costa Rica as a tourist, because very obviously to
Hmm.
immigration
Yeah. Oh,
you're
yeah.
pretty much living here, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they see stamps from other countries, and I'm like, oh, this, like, oh yeah, like she's been out for like 3 months or 6 months, but majority of the year, like I'm here. But as long as I don't overstay my visa, and I don't have any tax, like I'm not being wanted for taxes or being wanted for, like being wanted for crimes. Like I'm not like on the top 10 wanted
On the
list or
ban
have
list,
any
yeah.
like, yeah, exactly, like felonies or anything like that against me. They don't. Yeah, they can't say anything. So,
So the process you're going to go through to get citizenship, is that the only option that you have to be a permanent resident in Costa Rica, or could you and your
no,
husband
they
have a local
have.
wedding and do it that way?
Mhm. No, so they have, Costa Rica has several options for people. Citizenship is obviously like the longest, the hardest process, but they offer residencies as well. And residency, one of the reasons why retirees come here a lot is because they offer a residency that's specifically for retirees. So as long as you're retired and you can prove that you're getting your pension every month from whatever country that you originally were in, and
So
you're
you
not
won't be a
working.
burden on the country and
Yeah, exactly. Then you can apply for residency, like a retire residency in Costa Rica. And they also have a couple other ones, but like they have a business one, but This one, you have to invest, which I believe is $250,000 in the country. So say you bought a piece of land and you're building a hotel, or you like bought a restaurant, or you bought something that is a business that's you're putting money into the country's economy, and then you can get a residency for that as well. But unfortunately, I'm not investing
You're not a
$250,000 in
property
buying.
magnate. Yeah.
No, no, I'm not doing that yet. But yeah, and I'm not retired, so for me right now, this is the only option. Like right now, the tourist visa, and then once like me and Jason we sign the papers here, then I can apply for the citizenship because we've been together for 6 years, and so once we prove that we've been partners for however many years, it's a lot easier, especially for women, to get papers. Or if you have a kid born here, that's another option too.
Just get pregnant, and then you're fine.
Exactly. Yeah. That's an easy option. Well, not easy, but one of the options.
Is there anything you miss about the USA?
Yes. I mean, my family's still there, so I'm very close to my family and I miss them all the time and my dog. Um, and then there's like other little things, like everything's very accessible in the US, like whether you want to uh even like little things like 24-hour supermarkets, or like in the US you can get food from like everywhere. We're big people on food. We love food, so it's a big deal for us. So you can get like all kinds of food, or like online shopping, or just like the conveniences of having the accessibility and the convenience to like if you broke something like I don't know, like your laptop charger broke, you can just like order one on Amazon, or you can go to Best Buy and purchase a new one. Here, like things are definitely, you need to work around the system a lot more and it's not as easy. There's definitely that. And it's nice, like, things in the US are very, not like strict, but everything is kind of more like set in stone. So, like if they tell you that this costs this, that's like what it costs. And then they're not going to tell you something completely different the next week
You
from
have more
somebody else who had
gray areas
no
in Costa
idea.
Rica.
Yeah, which is, it's good and bad because if you know how to work with the system, it can definitely work for your advantage. But like for someone like me who didn't grow up with that, and I'm more of a person who is like, okay, if he says A, then it means A. Like I'm very kind of linear in that sense. Um, it's things like that I do miss. But yeah, mostly like, family, friends, food, Amazon.
And what are the best bits about living in Costa Rica?
Well, definitely like it's way more laid back here. Obviously, the city is different. San Jose is like a very typical city. People are very stressed out there. The traffic is horrible. But where we live, things are definitely a lot more laid back. It's more relaxed, and it's nice to just like, oh, like where we live, we can just go outside and there's forests everywhere. And, because everything about Costa Rica is very focused on nature. And also just it's a lot of fun, like meeting all the people here. I think that's been my favorite part for the past 6 years is like every new person I meet, I always am so grateful because I think I would have never met them otherwise. If I like stayed in the US or if I, like stayed where I grew up, because here you find people from everywhere because you get tourists and you get people who move here from all over the world. It's such a melting pot here, and it's been really fun to like meet so many different kinds of people, and it teaches you a lot. So I really, really enjoy that part. And just it has good weather. Sometimes it can get really, really, really hot where we are, but like we can just drive an hour and a half and we get to somewhere with like cool weather or rain or something different. And that's very nice too, is all the different microclimates around.
Finally, Samantha, anyone who is looking at moving to Costa Rica, whether as a retiree or someone still in the workforce, maybe for love like yourself, what would be your
Mhm.
biggest piece of advice to them to help make their expat experience that little bit easier?
First, like don't come with the expectation that it's like a tropical paradise. Like it is, but it isn't. If you're coming here to live, you're coming here to live and to work. Like you're not gonna be, like I said, you're not gonna be on the beach sipping pina coladas every day or surfing every single morning. I would definitely say, like, if you can, come down for like a few months at a time and really get a good feel of, like, do you think that like this is something that you can deal with? Do you think that this is something that you would want for whether you move here for the rest of your life or, like for a stage of your life? Because it's very nice. And a lot of tourists always say, oh my God, like I wish I could live here. Like, yo, it's amazing. But I mean, there's such a huge difference between traveling somewhere as a tourist and living somewhere. No matter like how beautiful the beach is or how amazing that rainforest is. I mean, you're not going to be doing that every single day. And so that's something that people need to realize. I feel like a lot of people kind of get like, glitter goggles and they just come with like everything is just amazing and incredible, and then they realize, oh shoot, like I need to learn this, oh shoot, this is not how it is, or like, oh, why is this not working? Not lower your expectations, but have more realistic expectations, because you're not coming to vacation 24/7. So I think that would be like one of my biggest pieces of advice, because like I've met a lot of people and I know a lot of people who they moved down here with the dream to like open a restaurant or open a smoothie shop or something like that, and then it doesn't work out. They'd never learned how the system worked, and they never really like integrated, and they just like couldn't get over that hump, and so they like went back home or something like that. If I could go back in time and tell myself anything, that would probably be it as well. Have more realistic expectations.
That's it for this episode. If you have any questions for Samantha about life in Costa Rica or want to share your own experiences, head over to expatfocus.com, follow the links to our Costa Rica forum or Facebook group. You'll find more episodes on our website or your favourite podcasting app, including a chat with Ian Usher about the time he spent living off the grid on his very own island off the coast of Panama. If you like what we do, please leave us a review, and I'll catch you next time.